Hello everyone, Vita is a 32 back with another how to play today. We're looking at how to play this game, Lure, which has nothing to do, no relation to a previous game called Lure that I looked at, which is from Allplay. This is a self-published game from a little company called 12 Tiles, designed by Lanny B. III and art by Miles Monroe. In this game, you're going to be getting bait, trapping animals, and luring animals. It's all about collecting animals and scoring the most points. So in the game, you get a bunch of cards. You get 35 of these animal cards, including this queen. This is going to be shuffled into the bottom 12 cards of the deck. And when it comes out, the game will come to an end. And so you would just, mix it into the 12 bottom cards, and away you go. The cards have different animals. Animals have different things going on with them. You got a point, a number in the corner. This is going to be points. This little symbol you see, no meat, is related to the bear. The bear will give you points for every animal you have that doesn't get lured by meat. This one gets lured by grass. This is the elk, and it says here on the bottom, what will lure it? Grass. Is here the scientific name. Different cards have different things, like some of them have these quirks, as they're called. This is when you lure this animal, you get to take this action. This forces out of place to discard one bait. And you can lure it with these 3 different baits. The different baits you have are roots, grass, berries, and meat. Porcupine doesn't like meat, but you can lure it with one of these other baits. It's either going to be 3 or 4 baits based on these gardens. You have these 2 garden cards. A day garden, it costs 3 bait. A night garden, it costs 4 bait. So if the porcupine is here, it will cost me 3 of either root, grass, or berry. If it was in a night garden, it would cost me 4. And it has to be the same kind of bait. You can't do one of each or anything like that. There's the bear. The bear has a different scoring icon. It'll give you 2 points, or doubles the value of animals that can't be lured by meat. So if I had these 2 in my hand and the bear at the end of the game in my collection, these would actually be 10 and 4 points instead of 5 and 2. So it doubles the score of animals that can't be lured by meat. Cat is a bear costs 3 more to lure. So instead of being 3, it's 6 or 7 instead of 4. But you can see which animals are not lured by meat by that little symbol. This one has a different symbol, a 6, that's also related to some kind of scoring condition. Some animals give you an ability when you own it. So if I lure this one and have it in my collection, it lets me draw 2 cards from the compost if the top card is meat. Others have different cards. This one, for instance, has a different scoring symbol on as well. It will give me a value for points that is equal to the number of animals that I own, including this one. So if I have 8 animals, I get 8 points. So different cards score in different ways. The peafowl is 0, but if I own it, I get to draw cards from the compost, which is the discard pile. The blue jay isn't worth anything, but when you see this symbol, you're going to have cards, the bait cards, the pinecone cards underneath it. So when you put this one out into the garden, you're going to put 5 of these bait cards underneath. And then if you lure this blue jay, you get to take those 5 cards into your hand. There is a hand limit of 10 cards of the bait cards. At the start of your turn, if you have more than 10, you do have to discard down to 10. You will start off with 6. And then there's these ones that say placed. When you place this in the garden, every player gets 1 bait. So some cards will say when you place it in the garden, you do an action. Some is when you lure it, and some is if you own it. And then the wolf is another interesting one, as I mentioned. And the wolf, if it is in the day garden, you have to trap it in order to lure it. If it's in the night garden, you cannot trap it. You have to simply lure it, but it is worth 7 points. But it requires just meat. And there is one as well. When you place it, you swamp the gardens. But you shuffle up the cards, the animal deck, throw this into the bottom 12, shuffle it up. And when that comes out, the game will end immediately. For the bait, you get different types of bait. You get grass, meat, root, and berries. And you'll notice some of the cards have different symbols on them. There's also mushrooms as well. And you get 11 each of the roots, grass, berries, and meat, and you get 4 mushrooms. 35 animal cards, that includes the queen, 48 bait cards. And what those symbols mean is they are fragrancies and scents, basically. Or that's a fragrancy and a scent, and fungal. And what that means is if I have in my hand 2 cards that have a fragrant symbol, you can say fragrant on, I can play these to trap one of the animals with my trap. Once you trap an animal, it is reserved, nobody else can lure it. And it gives you a discount of 2. So if I trap an animal in a day garden, it would only cost me 1 to lure it. And if it's a night garden, it would cost me 2 instead of 3 or 4. But you do have to play 2 cards that have this fragrant symbol. The fungal symbols, which you'll find on mushrooms and berries, apparently. If I'm losing my cards. The cards do have a nice lid and finish, by the way. I can play 2 of these as to replace any thing I need. So if I needed free meat, I can play these 2 fungal as a third meat. So it's kind of a wild action. Let you play 2 as one other resource. So hopefully that makes sense. Traps. Again, you have to play 2 of the fragrant cards in order to put a trap on an animal. The wolf, as you saw, if it's in one garden, it has to be trapped. If it's another one, you cannot trap it. That's the only one that's like that. And once you trap an animal, nobody else can lure it, and it gives you the discount. And you can only use a trap, of course, one at a time. You cannot trap 2 animals at the same time because you only have 1 trap. Another thing about the traps is there's these diamonds on here from 1 to 5. This is a priority. The higher the number of diamonds you have means you get to be the start player. Whoever has the highest number gets to be the start player. So you have 5 traps because it plays up to 5 players. You'll shuffle them up, deal them out. Whoever has the highest priority gets to be the start player. That's the only difference with the traps. On the other side, you get a reference as to what you're doing on your turn. So let's start the game. You shuffle up the animals. Take the queen, put it into the bottom 12, mix that up. Put that back on the bottom of the deck. Shuffle up the bait. You're going to deal each player 6 bait. Of which I think I already gave him 6 to start. And then you're going to create a deck here. A draw deck, create a bait. And you have draw deck for the animals. You're going to put out 6 animals. 3 in each garden, starting with the day garden. If a card says placed, you do that action when you place it in the garden. And if it has the pine cone symbol, you're going to add pine cones underneath it. So let's see what happens here. So for instance, this one is a pine cone times 1. So I'm going to take one of these, put it underneath there. And so when you lure the canary, you get that extra bait card into your hand. Is what that means. This one also has a bait card. And this one says, when placed, the day and night gardens swamp positions. There's I think 1 or 2 of those. And so we swamp the gardens, which changes the cost of those cards. So now if I find I was going to need this canary relatively cheap, now it's going to cost me 4 instead of 3. And we got 1 more to put out. It is the wolf. And the wolf, during the day, must be trapped. So now if you want to get that one, we have to trap it. So on your turn, now the start player has to place one of the cards into the discard pile, the compost, in order to start it off. I don't know why you don't just flip over the top card from the deck to start off the discard, but it is what it is. So maybe I will play a root into into the discard pile. You have to do that on the first turn, only the first turn of the game, from what I can tell. So then you will, to start off, you will reduce your hand to 10. If you have more than 10 cards in your hand, you discard down to 10. Then you can take one of these 4 actions. You can scavenge, compost, trap, or lure. Compost, or scavenging, means you get to discard 1 card and draw 2 cards from the deck. Alright, sorry. You discard 1 card and you draw 1 from the deck. Let me just double check that. I know it's a draw and discard, but no, okay, so the first action is scavenge. Why it says compost, I don't know. But what it means is you're drawing a card from the top of the compost is what scavenge is. That's why it says compost. So yeah, on your turn you can scavenge, which is drawing the top card from the compost. Put in your hand. I just put that there, but I can take it back. Apparently, we won't. The next thing you can do on your turn, the other thing you can do on your turn is you can compost, which is where you discard a card and draw 2 cards from the deck. So you can either take the top card of the discard 1 and draw 2 cards from the draw pile. You can also trap an animal by playing 2 scented cards and putting the trap on it. Or you can lure by playing the 3 or 4 cards of the same kind to trap an animal. And again, remember, you can take 2 fungals as a wild and make anything that you're missing 1 that resource. And so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to do trap. So I'm going to play these 2 cards that have the scent, the fragrance, and I'm going to put my trap on top of the wolf because it has to be trapped and it's worth 7 points. Now I have to play, well, it's actually going to be 1 meat in order to claim it on a future turn, but these will get composted. And you can obviously choose which way you do this for the compost. So then my opponent's going to go. They look at their hand. What do they want to do? Well, there's not much they can do right now. So they will, let's just say they don't want to give me a meat necessarily. They're going to discard a berry and draw 2 cards in the deck. And that's the end of the turn. Oh, they get the meat. So it comes back to me. I need a meat. I'm going to discard a card and draw 2. I don't get a meat. So then it goes back to my opponent. And you keep going back and forth doing this, doing one of the 4 actions. The other things you're going to do is after you trap an animal, so after you've lured an animal, you can do the lured quirks, and then you're going to refill the garden as needed. So if I take an animal, you will refill it and do the placed actions and hide bait for any pine cones. So yeah, my opponent's going to go here. He's going to, well, he's going to discard these 3. It's going to help me out, but he's going to discard these 3 to lure this fox. Actually, no, he needs 4. So he cannot do that if he wanted to. He could actually, he's going to do it for the lynx. He's discarding these 3. He's going to take the lynx into his collection, and that's his turn. We'll replenish, and there is a pine cone symbol, so we'll put that there. I put a pine cone underneath it, the toad, and then it's my turn. So now I can, if I want to, well, I'm going to draw this. That's all I'm going to do. That's my turn. Goes back to my opponent. They're going to take their turn, their action. They will, what do they want? They'll discard a root and draw, or a grass and draw 2 cards. Oh, it's a root. Perfect. That's what they needed. And now I will discard my meat to get the wolf. Remember, I have a discount of 2 because I trapped it, so it only costs 1, and now I get 7 points. And then we refill the market. This one says, if you own it, you can place a trap on any animal, and you can remove an existing trap. So if my opponent had this one, and I had a trap on the fox, on the wolf, they can remove that and put their trap on there. So it's a pretty powerful card. So you keep doing this, drawing and discarding bait, luring animals, or trapping animals if you want, collecting them until the queen comes out. Once the queen comes out, this is, the game ends, you score up your points based on the scoring conditions on the cards. Most points wins. If there's a tie, there is a tiebreaker or two. If there is a tie, most animals wins. If there's still a tie, most bait wins. And if there's still a tie, you smile and shake hands. There is some possible house rules that are included, which we won't get into. But it's a pretty cool game. You can get this from the Game Crafter, I believe. You print it on demand. And yeah, it's pretty decent. So that is that. I think it was the Game Crafter anyways. It's pretty cool. Comment, like, subscribe, let me know what you think. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.